Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on another Pulsebeat podcast sponsored by Cardiomiracle. We're very excited that we're able to be here in the Pulsebeat studios. And I have a very special guest today to talk about health and wellness, as well as her journey through health and wellness and what she's been able to put together, the incredible things that she's accomplishing. We're so excited to have with us on the podcast today. Her name is Alina Nazari. Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Nazari. Close enough.
Okay. Nazari. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Alina, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm here in Los Angeles where I live with my husband and my two boys, and just beautiful weather. It's a great day. I'm excited to be on this podcast. So just gratitude all around.
So wonderful. I love that. And, you know, I do have friends who are in California, and most of them say they're in like San Jose and stuff like that. They say they pay for the weather there. Is that correct? Is this nice weather all the time? Or?
Yeah, it definitely is, especially when we look at the housing costs. And my husband and I are always discussing that. And we're like, why is it so expensive? And we're like, oh, we're paying for the weather. So yes, it definitely, that's a big part of the justification of the prices that we pay.
You know, yeah, I'm here in Utah. So we're in the mountains. So we get snow, sleet, hail. I could come in the podcast studio one day and then go out and it'd be snowing. You never know. So it's kind of wild. Yeah. But it's such an honor to have you today. But I really wanted to start off the podcast with just asking about how you got into the space that you're in with helping people with gut health. And if you kind of explain how you've gotten into that space, I think that would be really wonderful to hear a little history on that.
Yeah, it's really my second son that was the push for me. He became the catalyst for me getting into the health space. I've had so many gut issues my entire life. You know, my mom passed away of stomach cancer when she was just 46 years old. So she was very young. But a lot of my gut issues were always brushed off. I remember even as a teen having colonoscopies done because I just had these unexplained gut issues, chronic constipation, not feeling well, feeling bloated all the time, food sensitivities, eczema, allergies, all of these things. And so as a teen, you don't really question things. You just kind of assume this is kind of what it is. And if you look at some of the language, they really do normalize a lot of things that are not really normal. I mean, constipation, they really normalize that and just say, well, some people don't have frequent bowel movements and that's okay. Really, it's not. But a lot of the language does normalize a lot of the symptoms we have. It wasn't until my second son had severe constipation as a baby and toddler, and we would just see him writhing in pain and screaming and could not produce bowel movements. And then pediatrician said, it's very common in young kids, just give him Miralax. And I said, I don't want to give him Miralax. I want to figure out what's causing my child not to go to the bathroom. This is not normal. And he said, it's actually very normal. And it's very common in young kids. You're overthinking it. Just give him Miralax. It's not a big deal. It's over the counter. You can get it at your local CVS or Walgreens. And I just looked into it. And Miralax is not for kids. It's for adults. And it's supposed to be just a temporary kind of one-off thing that maybe you take to help you produce a bowel movement if you're severely backed up. It's not something you take every day, but a lot of people do because they're just misinformed, they're miseducated, and they're guided by their doctors to say that it's okay, just take Miralax. Miralax does have a lot of side effects. It actually can have neurological side effects as well. And it's been documented in children. Studies show that kids who take Miralax have even had very vivid, frightening nightmares. They experience things that their brain just produces, it reacts to it differently. And so when I saw those studies, I thought, why would I give this to my infant child? This does not make any sense. And I was not getting any answers. We went to a pediatric gastroenterologist. They were like, you're overthinking this, kind of laughed it off. It's not a big deal. They sell it at CVS. Just give it to him. You're causing him more harm by not giving him the Miralax is what they told me, because he has backed up stool. You need to get it out. And I was like, this is crazy. How can I become certified so I can test my own kids? Because do not want to rely on other people anymore. I do not want to be brushed off as a mom and kind of be at the mercy of medical doctors who are guiding me, in this case, in the wrong way. That being said, I have immense respect for doctors, but there are certain things where they guide you in the wrong way. And so that's really how I became a nutritionist, is like, okay, nutritionist seems like the fastest way where I can become certified, test my own kids, send in their sample, the lab will send me the results, and I can see, is there a bacterial imbalance going on in their gut? Is there something, is there a food sensitivity? Is there something that they're eating that's causing this blockage? And of course, that's exactly what it was. And as soon as I was able to balance the bacteria in his gut and kind of eliminate some of the foods that were causing a lot of those disruptions, we've never had that issue again. He produces regular bowel movements, and so in sharing my story, other parents would say, oh, my child had constipation. In fact, I have constipation. In fact, my husband has this issue. Oh, I didn't know eczema is a gut issue. We've always had eczema. We were given an oatmeal lotion to put on. We were given a steroid treatment to put on. And I realized there is a big need for this, because there are a lot of people who were just as confused as I was. And there's this disconnect between the medical community, the doctors, and the clients, and you don't see your doctor as often. And so you really want someone who's a little bit more approachable, someone you can ask those questions to, instead of making an appointment every 6 months and, you meet with them for 15 minutes and they're like, everything looks good, go back to your life. And you're like, I don't feel well every day. I don't understand. And so I realized that there was a big need for this. And that is really how all of this came about. And then in hindsight, I realized that, oh my God, I've had so many gut issues my entire life. And my mom had gut issues, but really it was my son's push, the need to help him, that kind of opened up my eyes to this world of gut health and how it's just interlinked to so many of the symptoms that we face in today's world. So many of the things that we see increasing, mental health, anxiety, IBS, IBD, colon cancers, and all these things that we're seeing increasing. And I was like, oh my God, I have to try to help as many people as I can, because people have no idea what's going on in their gut. They're not testing. They're not doing stool testing. It's not a normal thing that you're told you can do. You can order stool testing off my website. You don't even have to talk to me. You can just order it off my website. People don't know that is very important to know what's going on in your body. They're buying the next supplement. They're buying the next protein powder, the colostrum, the collagen, the creatine, the whatever it is. And like, it's not, I don't feel well, what's going on? They don't even know that they can actually send for a stool sample and see exactly what's going on in their gut. And so that is really what I'm trying to bring to the masses, is to educate them on kind of what's going on in their gut, and that they are in control. They can do something about it. And it's, I'm always there to guide them and help them.
Absolutely. This is amazing. And I love some key points that you said in here. And you did say a couple times that you were told that you were overthinking. And
Yeah.
so it kind of, my next question is kind of leads into that a little bit, but it's kind of, I've already kind of answered it in my head, but just so if you could answer for everybody else, what is a belief system that you have found that is complete garbage, but that you have seen in the industry that you're in that continues to try to be like forced into our brains?
Yeah. One is that cancer is genetic and that we can't do anything about it. And, if your parent, your grandparent had cancer, you are more likely to develop it. And while there is a genetic component to cancer, it's actually very, very unlikely. And I say this because because my mom passed away at 46, I went to a geneticist and I met with her and I said, I want to be tested to see that if I carry that gene, because, I want to make sure I prevent this. And she said, that's actually not, she said 80% of cancer is due to your lifestyle. It's not due to your genes. She said, there's actually less than 10%. It's estimated about 7% is related to a very specific gene. And she said, that would mean that your parent had that exact same gene. They passed away from that exact cancer. Their parent passed away from that exact cancer. Your grandparent passed away from that exact cancer. And so if someone died of, they had bowel cancer, someone had stomach cancer, someone had colon cancer, none of those are related. They are all lifestyle related. And I said, wow, that's not what we're told, right? We're told cancer is genetic. There's not much you can do about it. You carry this gene. But she said, no, it's actually about 7% is gene related. And so that was really eye opening for me. And also, I kind of knew that, but it's also great to have someone who's a geneticist tell you that as well, and to meet with someone and kind of have that one-on-one conversation. Really, in going down this education of gut health, I I always questioned, why did my mom get stomach cancer so young? What were the things that led to that? And I remember my dad would give me vague answers, like they weren't really sure. She always had low iron. She was anemic. And I would always question that because we're Armenian. So we eat a lot of kebabs and meat, right? We're so meat heavy. And I always thought, how could she be anemic and iron deficient? We are always eating red meat. And through my own education on this journey, I found out that when you have an imbalance of bad bacteria, there are some bacteria like H. pylori that will actually not allow your body to absorb iron. And so on tests, it will show up as anemic. It will show up as low iron, when in fact, it's an H. pylori overgrowth. They're just not stool testing you and testing you to see if you have an H. pylori overgrowth. They're testing your blood and saying you have low iron. When the H. pylori is not treated and all you're seeing on your labs is low iron, it will overgrow. And then that H. pylori does lead to gastrointestinal, stomach, and colon cancers. And so think about the increase of colon cancers we're seeing in today's world. We're seeing so many younger and younger people getting diagnosed with colon cancer. And we're saying, how could this happen to someone so young? And you always hear the same story. Their labs came back normal. We have no idea. Everything was like, we don't know why you feel this way. Oh, you have this many months left to live. You have stage 3, you have stage 4. We have to try to figure out, what is that disconnect? Where are we missing that giant piece where someone is labs look normal? Why are we not testing for certain things and then, giving them this diagnosis? And believe it or not, it's really hard to even get a stool test from your doctor. I told my husband to ask his doctor for one, and she said it was not something that she thought he needed to get. And, I can't order it for him, but you pay out of pocket for that. And I said, why do we have this insurance if we can't even order a simple stool test? And, his doctor said it doesn't work that way. If there isn't a specific need or cause, we can't just order a stool test for you. And
That's
so
something they're looking for, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Not until your symptoms are pronounced enough, then they're like, oh, now we can order it. Not to prevent it. No.
It's all about
Only when
reactive.
you have developed something. So, that's really kind of the missing piece that I'm trying to help people figure out and just be in control of their bodies and try to understand that missing link. My goal is to just prevent anyone from going through the pain that I went through as a kid. I never want anyone to lose their parents so young, to lose a family member so young. It's not how it's supposed to be.
It's amazing, and I am so sorry for your loss and what you've gone through. It's so interesting how many people's missions in life kind of align with what we're trying to do here at Cardio Miracle. I mean, my father, John Hewlett, he started the product based on our family history of heart disease. And what he wanted to do was ensure that he stops the trend. I mean, my grandpa died in his 60s. His dad died in his late 50s, both in their sleep, both from heart disease. And my dad, thank heaven on earth, he's 73 years old and he's able to kind of stop the trend, so to speak. And it's with this product, Cardio Miracle, that we help people and encourage people to take their health into their own hands. And so as you have done that with people that you have consulted and that you're helping throughout the world, how has that message been received by your clients?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, when I tell them what I do and I tell them that I'm a gut nutritionist, they're like, oh my God, I have so many gut issues. I mean, It's rare that I don't hear that, I would say. And that really makes you think, why are these people not able to get the help that they need? Why is there such this big missing piece? And so it's been fulfilling, I would say. I feel fulfilled every single day that I'm able to help someone, even just from my videos or reels that I try to do, or just trying to get information out there. And some people will say, hey, I loved your post that you did on Instagram. I never knew that, this can cause low stomach acid, or all of the symptoms you talked about, H. pylori. I have that. How can I get a stool test? I'm like, you can just order it off the website. You can ask your doctor to order it too if they will. But people just have no idea. They're just told to order lab blood work, which blood work doesn't show things going on in the stool. The stool is the best way to test for H. pylori. And so, um, you know, like kind of like what you said about your dad, your crisis becomes your calling. Someone shared that one day, and I said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what happened." That's, from this pain of what happened to my mom and all of these things. It kind of went full circle with my son, which I wasn't even thinking about any of this gut stuff, right? I was just like, how can I test my kid? How can I get control back in my family and know what's going on with him? And it really went full circle. And I had this aha moment of, oh, this is my purpose in life. This is what I'm meant to do, and how I'm meant to help people. So it's just great to help people in any capacity.
I love it. And as wonderful and as fulfilling and as awesome as it is, it's so interesting that people like us that are trying to help others and really get a message out there that there is hope and that people can take their health into their own hands. It almost seems controversial, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I mean, I went through a divorce because I refused to fall in line with the shot that was recently in our world and kind of forced upon us in a way. And it was shocking to me that I went from such a loving relationship to someone who said they didn't feel comfortable being in my presence because I wasn't falling in line with what they were told
Yeah.
is doing our part or whatever. So with those controversies and stuff, so people can literally go to your website and start ordering a stool sample and get
Yeah.
that process started. Can you explain that a little bit, how they would get that going?
Yeah, I also don't work with anyone one-on-one without a stool sample. I
Oh,
There are a lot of people that offer coaching, they'll help you with weight loss, they'll help you with so many things. I mean, actually the I would say confusion is when I say that I'm a gut nutritionist, people always point to their belly and they're like, "Oh, as you can see, I have so many gut issues." And I'm like, "I'm not a weight loss program.
right.
That's not what I do." And so I will not work with anyone without a stool sample because I want to know exactly what we're looking at. I'm not here to blindly swing at the piñata and hope that we hit it. You're just wasting your time. You're spending money. You're buying supplements that you may or may not need. There is not always a time that I recommend probiotics. Probiotics are wonderful for you, but there are certain situations where I will say we're scaling back on the probiotics right now. We're not taking them while we treat whatever it is that might be going on. And then we will introduce probiotics because you might have a bacterial overgrowth. And so we're just trying to take out the weeds from the garden right now and not throw fertilizer into the lawn. It's not going to help us right now. Let's clean out those weeds. And then once we have that garden that's ready, we can add in the fertilizer, the probiotics, and allow that garden to grow and allow your gut integrity to be restored. So, but people don't know that. And believe it or not, something that's surprising is how reluctant people are to order that stool test. They will throw money at you. Tell them there's like a protein powder, they're throwing their money at it. Creatine, colostrum, these are kind of like the trendy ones right now. So many of them, they'll throw their money at it. But to test for their stool, they're like, I don't know if I need that. Is there something else I can do? Have you heard of this supplement? What do you think about that? Have you heard of that supplement? I'm like, yes, those are great supplements, but do you need that? We don't know. And
Right.
so it's just so important to know what we are aiming for. What is our goal? Do we have weeds overgrowing the garden? Do we need a little bit more, something else that you might be deficient in? So that's really where stool testing comes into play. And it's not expensive. It's $4.95 on my website. So it's not, think about that in relation to the hundreds and thousands you have spent over time trying to feel better. You're
Yeah.
constantly buying like all of these supplements trying to feel better. And then people balk at $4.95 and they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to keep spending like $120 on the creatine and then like another something here, another something there. I'm like, all right,
Right.
there's
But they
only so
can
much.
find out so much with a stool sample, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be like such a powerful, unbelievable tool. I mean, I was told I went in for this. I went in to get my like testosterone and whatever tested, and this guy was like, "Do you want to get your DNA tested? I can tell you when you're gonna die." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't want to know that." And so I'm like, I'm taking care of myself. I just want to know what my levels are at, my testosterone, estrogen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how many tests there are and how many solutions that people have when really, if you take your health into your own hands, if you go out there and you do the thing and you find the right resources to make sure that you can have the right tools. Like I love how you've said that you equip people with the right tools and the tool belts and
Yeah.
all that. And so how many platforms would you say that you've been able to be on so that you can spread this message to others?
I think podcast is the best one because I'm able to reach both audiences, and it's something that kind of lives on. And it is hard to be on the social media platforms. It is a job in and of itself, and I'm always trying to remember, oh no, I haven't posted yet. The algorithm says you have to post this many times per week, and so you notice that drop off in engagement, and so it's not the engagement that I'm worried about. It's if there isn't enough engagement, then I'm not reaching more people. And my goal is always to help people as much as I can. So that's what I think about in terms of just the algorithm and the engagement and posting more is I have to keep doing this and posting more and treating it like a job because I wanted to reach more people and just, even if they don't work with me one-on-one, just seeing my posts and just seeing my reels and videos, I want them to have a little bit more knowledge. There's so many trends that people jump on. Parasites are a really big one right now. A lot of people are jumping on the parasite trend. Do I have parasites? Should I treat that? And there's so many detoxes and supplements that people are doing. What they don't realize is that H. pylori actually holds the door open for parasites to walk through. And so if you are not testing and seeing if you have an H. pylori overgrowth, which the stool test will also show you if you have parasites, it can show you, I should say. Sometimes parasites hide, which is a weird thing. And it might not show up on that stool test and you might have to retest. But it can show you if you have parasites, but it can also show you if you have other virulence factors, if you have like antibiotic resistant bacteria, if you have different strains of bacteria, E. coli. There's so many different strains. But yeah, that's something that people don't realize is that if you're just treating the parasite, but the H. pylori is still there holding the door open, you're probably going to get reinfected. And so we have to know, what are we cleansing for? What type of a colon cleanse are we doing? What type of parasite cleanse are we doing? Are we giving it the right supplements? And these bacteria are smart. It's kind of freaky when you actually look into them and the studies and how they behave. They're
Yeah.
really smart. If you're not treating H. pylori with the proper protocol and it senses something is hitting them, they'll hide in other parts of your organs. And so if they're in your gut, they'll go and hide in your gallbladder. They'll go and hide in your liver because they sense that there's some sort of cleanse or something coming. So you have to make sure you're doing the proper protocol and hitting them with that 1-2 punch to clear them out.
Yeah, I while you were talking, I typed in H dash PIE dash L and then it popped up H. pylori. So can you explain in layman's terms? I have an AI definition right here, but Can you explain in kind of layman's terms, like, is H. pylori like, is it like, I can think of like in the Matrix when these things were like swimming around trying to attack, the ships and stuff. What is H. pylori?
Yeah, it's this corkscrew type bacteria, and it's an invasive species. And most people have an overgrowth, especially in the United States, and don't realize it. A lot of the symptoms that we have, constant cravings, bloating, even constipation, weight gain, low iron showing up on your test, hair loss, a lot of these things, thinning hair, is because the H. pylori is just robbing your body of these nutrients and vitamins, and it feeds off of sugar. It feeds off of that yeast. And so you might have things like, if you have rings under your armpits or redness, athlete's foot, toenail fungus, all of these things, bad breath, they can be linked to some H. pylori, some candida, but it's a fungal yeast overgrowth that's going on. And so the example that I always give is just weeds in the garden. It's just a really great example and kind of great visual. You will always have a little bit of weeds in your garden, and that's okay. We live in this ecosystem, same as your gut, where you're going to have a little bit of bad bacteria. We actually want that. We don't want the good guys to not have any invaders because it actually makes them dull. So we want to have a little bit of bad bacteria because it makes them stand guard like soldiers, right? If there are no invaders for a long time, the soldiers are like, nothing's been coming here for a long time, doing everything right. Yeah, they're going to get lazy. And then if you travel somewhere, you eat the wrong food, you're exposed to something, then their guards are down. And so you don't want that to happen. And so you do want a little bit of the weeds in the garden. It's when the weeds start overtaking the garden and you're trying to throw the probiotics at it, the fertilizer, you're throwing the supplements at it, you're doing the cleanses, and you're like, why are my flowers not growing? Why don't I feel well? It's because you haven't addressed the weeds and you haven't tested for the weeds. So you have to clear that out first to allow for that path.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's just an example I like to give because I think it just makes it very clear. But H. pylori is a corkscrew shape. And so it can kind of burrow itself into the stomach lining, which is, it's just crazy how smart these bacteria are. Like we're basically made up of bacteria, but that's why it's important to work with someone and know exactly what supplements you're taking and why you're addressing it. Something people actually, a quick test that people can do also is if they take apple cider vinegar, always diluted in water, and they feel a burning feeling, it can indicate that they have H. pylori, because H. pylori does not like the acidity and it will burrow itself into the stomach lining. And so you'll feel a burning feeling. Now, it can be that you have high stomach acid also. So it doesn't always indicate that, but a lot of times it can indicate that you have H. pylori. And so that's just a really easy, quick test that you can do at home.
That's amazing. And so with the H. pylori and with all the things that you're talking about, have you had a chance to even look into like nitric oxide therapy? Do you know about that by chance, or do you use that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I explored nitric oxide a lot more, especially during COVID. That was kind of peak season for you guys, right? I mean, as sad as that time was, yeah.
Yeah.
The great part of that for you guys was really I would say, uptick in Google searches of how can I help my lungs breathe better, nitric oxide, how can I increase oxygen naturally? And I'm sure all of these Google searches that we saw increase more. And so, health is always, they're all related. They all work with one another. If you have shallow breathing, you have poor oxygen circulation, you're going to find other parts of your body not functioning well as well. So yeah, it's definitely something I've explored more during COVID, especially.
Absolutely, yeah. And so when nitric oxide, the discovery of it like won the Nobel Prize of Medicine in 1998, and they talked about how it is a great regulator to try and regulate all the blood markers, the major blood markers in your system and in the human body. and all that. And so it's so exciting that we were able to get Cardio Miracle formulated of 58 whole and organic fruits and vegetables in order to sustain the nitric oxide in your system for 24 to 36 hours. And we've actually proven that, which is really exciting. And so it's wonderful that we were able to come together, and I really think that there could be some synergistic approaches with both of our systems and our products and whatnot. I think it'd be cool to explore that a little bit more. I am so grateful that you are doing what you're doing, because you are making a difference. You are moving the needle, and it is, it's why I refuse to believe that we can't take our health into our own hands. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely refuse to believe that. And I'm so excited, and we're so fortunate that we have resources like what you offer, and also like what we feel we offer, with Cardio Miracle. And it is such an honor to be in such good company. And so
Likewise.
I am looking at your website more, and if you could tell me a little bit more about your ebook, The 3 Hidden Causes of Your Digestion Discomfort and How to Fix It. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really simplified. I always kind of go back and forth on wanting to provide more information, but I realize that most people are kind of at surface level in terms of just health and gut health, and even things like bowel movements. Like I said, we have really normalized having not regular bowel movements, and kind of said that that's okay. In fact, there was a hashtag I saw, it's on TikTok. It really irritated me. It says hot girls have IBS, and it's a hashtag, and there's like all these videos of girls. And I said, this is not a trend. Do not make this a thing. Hot girls have IBS is not a thing. Let's not normalize having irritable bowel syndrome. That's not,
Seriously, that's horrible.
you know, but it's we've normalized these things. And so the ebook is very, very simplified, just kind of simple things that you can do at home, and maybe things that you might already know, you might not already know, but there's so much more literature and things that I can always provide. Also, if you're like, Alina, this is basic stuff, I know this stuff, send me more. I'm always happy to help. I just want to allow you to empower you to understand kind of what's going on in your gut and your body.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lena. So I'm gonna take advantage of this. So I'm gonna grab this ebook. It's gonna be awesome. And can you do a shout out, or let everybody know how to find you? How can they find you? How can they interact? Social media, website, stuff like that.
Yeah, so the website is gohappybelly.com. And I just want to make something fun, something catchy. I don't want to talk about like bacteria overtaking your gut and this is what's going on. And
Yeah.
so it's just Go Happy Belly. And that's me across all boards. On Instagram, it's Go Happy Belly. On LinkedIn, YouTube. So you can always find me there. And if you do have questions, if you need any guidance or anything, I'm always happy to help. I just want to make sure that you get the right tools that you need.
Absolutely. That is so, and it's a colorful, wonderful website. A lot of pictures of your family. You're very transparent. It's very warm. I love what you're doing. And so what I like to do at the end of these, while we wrap up, if you could just take 30 or 90 seconds and just give us not your elevator pitch, but just kind of like words of wisdom. Would you leave us with something like that?
Yeah, I will say that your body is always talking to you. We tend to ignore when our body is whispering to us, and we only pay attention when our body is shouting at us. Don't wait until your body is shouting at you. Pay attention to the whispers. If your body feels bloated after certain foods, if you wake up feeling fatigued, if you're tired, you feel things that you attribute to just aging or have normalized it, don't do that. Pay attention to the whispers, because you don't want to get to the point where your body is shouting. And so just remember that, pay attention to those things a little bit more and try to prevent something from becoming a much more serious disease to come back from.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, Thank you so much again for coming on and taking the time. We definitely appreciate that. I'm going to send you some of this Cardio Miracle so you
Thank
can
you.
try it for yourself, and then we'll stay in touch, and appreciate you and all your wisdom. And we want to move as many people as we can to your website and just get the word out. So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Pulsebeat, sponsored by Cardio Miracle. And hope you guys have a wonderful day.